C-Suite Edge podcast. I'm your host, John Light, founder and CEO of Sabretooth Recruiting. And as you may be aware, I've spent a significant amount of time doing some recruitment work over the years in the tech space, in the tech industry. And one of the biggest components that we have as AI continues to promulgate out there in the marketplace is personal security, identification security. And I'm very excited today to be joined by Ken Griggs, the founder and the leader of Julia Social. Ken, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
Well, we're going to have a little bit of fun in this because we're talking about, I think, what's a very sensitive topic and a very relevant topic today, even though people tend, we give away our information so freely, download this app and be tracked by this and so on and so forth. But maybe you could give us a 90-second rundown of what's brought you to today and to Julia Social, and kind of give us an overview of Julia Social while you're at it, especially because I think it's really intriguing, especially where you got the name from.
Well, I'll be happy to do that. So that's a lot of different pieces. I came out of the blockchain space, and I worked for a company called Chia Network. I was the vice president of customer success, building products on that used the blockchain for one good reason or another. Mm-hmm. One of the products I built was for the United Nations. Because they wanted a system where countries could interact with each other in a fully peer-to-peer way. It turns out that if you ask everybody to use a system that has a central server, it doesn't matter where you put that server in the world, somebody's going to be unhappy about it. So we built that system. It's out there. Over 90% of all the carbon projects in the world are currently listed there in a fully peer-to-peer system. While I was working on that, I got to thinking, right? So in the blockchain space, we talk a lot about, self-sovereign assets, right? Owning your own assets. In that case, we were doing sovereign data, right? Countries owning their own data, right? But people, I felt like really needed to be able to own their own identity. So that's a really big thing. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I had a unique and good solution for that. You mentioned the name of the company. So identity is a fraught topic, right? We've all seen 16 billion usernames and passwords that were leaked not long ago. And over and over again, we hear about all this information about people getting lost. It was my objective to make sure that we didn't have that problem. So the name of the company is Julia Social. The social part is all about helping humans have human-to-human interactions in a world full of bots, and we'll get to that in a moment. The Julia part, well, Julia is the hero of the book 1984, right? She was able to maintain her personal agency in a Big Brother world by protecting her privacy. So, private. That's my way of putting privacy right in the name of the company and making sure we stay focused on that.
I think it's clever. Just go on the record as saying, I really, when we talked about it, I was like, oh, that's right. Oh, man, what a great resonant kind of chord that you struck. So let me ask, when we talk about identity and we talk about protecting it, I mean, there are more facets to that, I think, than most people realize. So why don't you share with us, what's the biggest problem you and Julia Social are working to solve going forward here in this market?
Well, so the first thing that we are trying to solve, the big one, is actually right in the name of our first product. It is not bot, and it's all about how do you show that you are not a bot online. Mm-hmm. That turns out to be a harder thing to do than you might think, and it turns out to be a really hard thing to do in a way that absolutely protects privacy. But that is the product actually that we just launched a little bit ago. Would love everybody to go out and download Notbot. But that's really sort of the start, right? When you start thinking of identity instead of accounts, right? Mm-hmm. Accounts, of course, are, you have your Facebook account, you have your, I guess Meta now, you have your Twitter account, X, you have, all these different accounts in a particular place, right? If we think in terms of having an identity that you can take with you across the internet, that is a powerful shift in the way we think about it. And it's particularly important when we start thinking about AI agents that are also participating on the internet, that are also moving from property to property, sometimes working for you when they do that, right? So that's really where we get a tremendous amount of value from being able to say, to answer simple questions like, whose AI agent is this?
That is a big question because I think everybody who's involved in seeing AI promulgate sits back and can imagine a situation where you have a bot that does this and a bot that does that, A, B, C, on through the rest of the alphabet. And we have what, 7 or 8 billion people in the world? Well, if you just took a billion people and they all had 10 bots, then we're outnumbered. I'm not saying
Yep.
Skynet is coming, right? but the fact is, the opportunity to have your identity absconded with, to have someone else end up with it or be able to lever it in some, let's just say, nefarious way. I mean, usually someone's going to take your identity. They probably don't have the best of intentions, I would surmise, right? So can you share a little bit about kind of the guts of how NotBot puts you as the human at an advantage? And I say that from the perspective, since we're talking about Julia Social and we're talking about Julia, there's an advantage to be gained by defending and protecting your personal identity, regardless of where it travels, right? So can you chat a little bit about that and how that is enabled, how that is empowering potentially people to make themselves and their brand, especially for professionals or entrepreneurs, more valuable?
Well, why don't we start with you, John? So we have gotten to a situation where AI can write scripts. You can even write scripts that appear to be two people talking, right? I think Notebook LM does that, right? We've gotten to the point where AI can create video, right? That's all correctly lip synced and everything. So, and at this point, you have enough videos posted in the world that someone could create a AI and train it to look like you, right?
Well, who on earth would want to use this face for that? I mean, that would just terrify small children.
But this is a big problem, right? So, now imagine that the first time you find out that you've created a video advocating for something out there in the world is when you see it on the internet, right? You have to have a way to be able to claim your own video online, right? You have to be able to have a way to sign it and prove this video actually came from John Light, right? And this is not, this is an immediate kind of a problem. There was literally 18 months ago, there was a corporate controller in Hong Kong. He got on a Zoom call with 3 other people, all of whom he recognized, one of whom he believed to be the CFO of his company. In that call, he was told to wire $25 million out to another account, and he got off the call, and he did. Turns out all 3 other participants on that call were real-time deepfakes, right? That kind of scam is coming in a big, big way, right? I mean, we saw, the DeepSeek moment was a big thing when we realized that people are going to be able to download these models and run them locally for whatever they want to do, right? You don't have to, bypass the protections that are built into OpenAI and some of those online services. You just have to run it locally. So, and that's great for people who want to protect their privacy in the way that they use AI. Overall, I am a huge advocate for AI, and we need to talk about how to use it safely.
Okay, no, I'll buy into that, and let's keep me safe too. So, okay, suppose we use NotBot, and we kind of, I guess, in an old way of putting it, in a sense, we watermark a video, something unique. Levering, I'm assuming, blockchain and whatnot to make, hey, belongs to this person, and this person originated it, cut it, and all this stuff, produced it. How do you confirm that on the other end? You know,
I'm
so
glad you asked. You were.
if I'm looking at a video of me, advocating whatever that I don't advocate or whatever it might be, how do I say, no, that's not me and here's proof? Or how does someone
So,
say, hey, I know that guy and that doesn't sound like him and here's my proof?
all right, that is a fantastic question. So, one of the challenges that we have is that AI is getting good enough to make video that you cannot distinguish from reality, right? And even if we build AI models to be able to detect AI generated content, the AI is going to get better. It's a cat and mouse game that the cat can never win, right? Additionally, people are going to use AI to produce their content, right? That's going to be a part of the content. So your false alarm rate is going to be high. So for Julia Social and for Notbot, what we do is we actually create a little QR code, a little bug that you can put in the corner of your video that allows you to sign the legitimate content. Now, of course, a QR code it's an image. It can be copied. It can be pasted. Embedded in that data payload is a message from you. So there you can describe what it is that this podcast was, or what it is this piece of video was, so that anybody who scans it will immediately know whether that particular Notbot sticker, that's what we call them, the stickers, whether that particular Notbot sticker actually applies to the video that they're looking at. Right. At that point, we have a way, and those descriptions, by the way, you can auto generate those. Hey, AI, give me a summary of this video. Drop it into the message portion of that sticker, put it up there. Everybody can look at it and say, yeah, this is signed by John Light. I know this is a legitimate video. And when there's a video out there that is not, now we know that one is potentially a fake.
Yeah, because you kind of sit back, and I'm thinking defamation, slander, libel, things like that are risks. If you have stuff that you've tagged, in essence, you've put your Notbot brand on it, and you find out somebody is piecemealing stuff together or levering it, and it doesn't have a legit signature, I'd figure that's pretty stout. It should be very helpful to take into a court, At the same time, when you mentioned the cat and mouse game, I kind of sat back and was thinking, wow, it sounds like we're just going to have this massive multiplayer online game where everybody's just chasing, bots are chasing after each other. Kind of like, they have the robot destruction shows where they go at each other in the arena, the fight bot or whatever it is. I'm just wondering if, in the ether out there, we're going to have these bots going at each other on our behalf, which has some appeal, I'm sure, for people who are into that sort of thing. But at the same time, what I think what frightens a lot of people is that AI doesn't empathize. If somebody's using it for something unethical or illegal or immoral, whatever you want to phrase it, it doesn't rest. It continues. It's implacable. It just keeps moving, at whatever pace. And we can't keep up with that. We might be able to outsmart it when we're awake and fully caffeinated, but that's 24/7, 365, and no one can keep up with that. So it's almost like we're past the opening salvos when it comes to how AI is used and how your identity can be taken and levered for something that you would not otherwise agree with. And I think if there's anything that people should hate, it's decisions of that nature being taken from you, and therefore the value of those decisions being taken from you.
Yeah, it's true. You mentioned a couple things there I wanted to key in on. The role of the CISO is now amplified, right? These bots can execute at scale very sophisticated attacks, right? And what used to be, it's only the really big guys, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Raytheons, the Northrop Grummans. It's only those guys that are getting the really sophisticated attacks. That's not true anymore, right? Now, in fact, there was one just recently where a little 4-person accounting firm got hacked, right? And by a really sophisticated attack that caused a lot of damage. that's now the norm, right? We need to start paying attention to the kinds of attacks that used to be nation state actor levels are the kinds of things now that AI can bring to anybody, right? So we need to start paying attention to that. But I do want to focus on the positive, right? AI agents are going to be able to meet us where we are, and be able to help us in the moment when we need them, and that's a good thing. So one of the examples for HonestBot that I like to use is if you think about you're out on social media, you had a poor experience with some provider, maybe Verizon or somebody, and you post about it, right? Well, a bot should be able to approach you and say, hey, we're sorry you had a bad experience. If you'll take it down, we'll do this, or if you'll post some update, we'll do this. But we're going to need a way to validate that, because you can also imagine a malicious bot that says, oh, hey, we're Verizon, we'd love to help you out with that. Log in over here, right? Here's a link, and we all know what clicking on a link will do, right? So we need a way to know that is an honest bot, right? So we need to know who the bot's working for, right? We need to know it's working for Verizon. We need to know what it's been told to do, right? And we need to know what it's authorized to do. So if the bot says, hey, I can give you a month's free service to take it down, is it authorized to do that? Well, I don't know. It should be able to prove that it actually has the ability to do that. There's an example on that one also. So not long ago, a couple months ago now, there was a Chevy dealership, and they did a great job putting a chat GPT, help bot on their website. And they fed it full of all the information about the cars and the salespeople and the dealership and everything else. Well, somebody got on there, and they convinced the bot to tell them that it would make a binding commitment to sell the guy a brand new pickup truck for $1. Right? Now, that's a business, and on their website, right, they have made a commitment to sell a brand new truck for $1. So as a business concern, right, we have to make sure that person had a way to know that the bot was not allowed to sell a truck, full stop, much less for $1. And that doesn't exist right now. That's the kind of thing that HonestBot is designed to solve. And that's bots talking to people, right? The same thing happens when your AI agents go and talk to tools, right? There's all these protocols out there, MCP, A2A, where your AI agents are supposed to be able to go do work for you, right? Those those tools also need to be able to recognize a bot and its capabilities, and that it has been delegated permissions to actually go do work.
Right. Man, the world is getting complicated, my friend. But Ken, if someone wants to learn more about Julia Social, about NotBot, HonestBot, and the good work that you guys are doing to get out in front of this and help private citizens, entrepreneurs, small companies, big companies, all alike navigate this, what's the best way for folks to find you and learn more?
Well, we actually have a 6-letter URL, not.bot. It really is HTTPS not.bot. So we're easy to find on the web.
Awesome. And I know you and I are connected on LinkedIn, so if you're listening and connected to me, finding Ken is easy. So feel free to reach out. Ken Griggs, Julia Social, man, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John.